Why don't you take a seat and tell me what appears to be the problem? All right. That's it then. Welcome to another exciting new episode of Consult the Doctor, where I shall provide inane answers to your sensible questions. Let's start with question number 1. Timestamp. What problems have you experienced with celluloid pens? How can we avoid them? None. Next question. There are some known issues though, and they can be pretty severe. You can have issues with celluloid rot, which I think you see mainly on vintage pens that have really been around for a long time. You also have, I was on Richard Binder's website. His reference pages, I think, are really amazing and a wealth of knowledge. And I just by accident I found, I think, Banana Pen or something, where he has a very sad picture of a pen that just is bent out of shape. And I actually don't remember if it was celluloid, but I have heard from people, including pen vendors, people who actually have pen shops. I will leave them nameless for this one, and I won't say which brand it was, but there was a complaint with a new brand that made Italian pens. That was a Freudian slip. That made celluloid pens. Good thing I edit these. Never. Sorry. But the issue with that was that celluloid was not properly cured. And the result of that was that pens could no longer be capped or could no longer be uncapped because everything was kind of warping. These things can happen. The simplest solution is don't have celluloid pens. And I'm not trying to be belligerent or kind of saying this tongue-in-cheek. I think that's a really sensible option. Don't have celluloid pens. These days you have acrylics that are so beautiful and colorful and nice. I don't think there is a true need to have celluloid. Now, having said that, let's be frank, some things only exist in celluloid. Arco celluloid, although Magna Carta is actually making pens now out of a material that looks remarkably like Arco celluloid. I will say that. Having said that, of course, certain pens are only made in celluloid. Some people collect celluloids. I understand all that. I'm not saying you should not have celluloid. But if this is a massive concern to you, then maybe avoid celluloid pens and see if you can find something else in a nice acrylic that you find appealing. I know it's not always possible. You're not going to find an Omas 360 in acrylic. You're not going to find. And what else do you have? Specific vintage pens like Wall Eversharp Dorix or whatever in an acrylic. That's not. I understand that. Point made. What can you do about it? Store them properly in a way where they can outgas. That is something that matters. So don't put them in an airtight container. But then, do people put pens in airtight containers? I don't know. In a pen case where there is some opportunity for a little bit of airflow, right? I think that's a big difference. Maybe don't leave them lying in the sun at noon. Maybe don't put them in the snow. These would be my biggest contributions. If you have further thoughts about celluloid, then by all means, please comment. It's always useful. In all honesty, though, I have not experienced a single issue with celluloid pens, but none of what I have is really old to the point where celluloid rot or those kinds of things would set in. And I just have them in a leather case, but it's zippered, so there is some airflow typically. That's what I have. Okay, I got this question, and I know this is a very specific one, but I wanted to address it in general and try to pull it towards the more general. I got a very kind email from someone who asked about I think it was an email. May have been an Instagram message, sorry, but a stipula adagio. And I believe it was she asked how to take that pen apart for maintenance. And that conversation quickly turned to, I have some noodless pens, and those can be disassembled for maintenance. So how do you disassemble this pen for maintenance? And she was already aware that it might not be fully possible to take that pen apart. Pen companies like Noodlers have given people the impression that every pen can be disassembled. I think it is amazing that noodler's pens can be disassembled, because after all, you can do maintenance on them yourself very easily. For example, quickly lubricating a piston seal with some silicone grease, that kind of stuff. However, not every pen can be disassembled like that. I myself, many years ago, this must be close to a decade at this point, I ordered a Montblanc 220, which has a piston, and I thought you could disassemble it just like a noodler's nib creeper, which means you just keep turning the piston turning knob, I did that, and then I heard, and it was the piston rod, and it was in two pieces, so that pen was irreparably damaged. I managed to salvage the nib, and I ended up with another 220. These are mistakes people make. And I was not trying to accuse noodlers of something, but many people, I find, now have this kind of impression of noodlers is a good pen to start with. It's relatively expensive, and you can completely disassemble it, right? Well, there are fountain pens that you can indeed completely disassemble. I don't have an exhaustive list because you're talking about hundreds of different pens. There also are fountain pens that you can't easily disassemble. For example, I found with certain Aurora pens, it's very difficult to get the nib and feed out. It's very, very difficult. And I don't know exactly what their construction is, but I think I've had that with my Ypsilon. I sold a long time ago. I simply could not get the nib and feed out. I don't know if they were glued in there, probably not, or if there was some sort of construction I couldn't figure out, but I could not get that nib and feed out. Now, that was a cartridge converter filled pen, not a big deal. There is more of an issue with piston-filled pens. Some pens can't easily be disassembled. A Montblanc pen can be disassembled, but you need to buy special tools, which Montblanc will not sell you. You need to get them on eBay or pen tooling or at pen shows. And as soon as you put them to your pen, your warranty is void. Right? It's not like with noodlers. Those pens are kind of designed to be tinkered with. And that's really cool. But a Montblanc is not designed to be tinkered with. One is not better than the other in my mind, but when it comes to user maintenance, some pens do not really allow that. They expect you to send that pen back into the company, and they will do things for you. That's how Montblanc does it. And of course, they will charge you heavily for that. So the point I was trying to make here is, don't think that every pen that you can buy can be disassembled completely. You might need special tools to do it, and it may simply not be possible. Things may have actually been kind of glued in place, glue is not the right word, but Montblanc does something like that. They do use a compound to keep specific parts together. And rumor has it that if they see that that's gone, that they then void your warranty. But I don't know. This is just a rumor. This is not something that I'm saying as a fact. So there are these kinds of things, right? Like this kind of stuff is important to be aware of. You may buy a piston-filled pen, and the only thing you can do is fill it with ink and draw up water and expel it, and you can't do anything else without more specialized equipment. The final thing I'll say about this, because I've ranted for a long time, often you can at least take a nib and feed out. Put a little bit of silicone grease on a Q-tip and very gently put that in the barrel, put that in there, and then you can still lubricate something. But even that sometimes is not easy. So, in general, don't buy a pen expecting you'll be able to disassemble it, because that may simply not be the case. Okay, I have a very short answer to this question, which was already answered by a kind viewer. But someone asked on one of these Consult the Doctor videos, can you wash a silver polishing cloth? And the answer is, of course you can. You can wash anything you like. However, it's not a good idea. A silver polishing cloth is a cloth. I could have pulled one out, but I didn't. Sorry. It's a cloth that is impregnated with a polishing compound. And once you wash it, that compound is gone, and then it's no longer a silver polishing cloth. It's just a cloth. Over time, those cloths will turn black. That's okay. They still work. If at some point you find that it doesn't work at all, well, at that point you can buy a new silver polishing cloth. But they last for a very long time. I've had one since 2011. That's 11 years and still going strong. But granted, I don't use it every day, but it still works perfectly fine. Just don't wash it. Okay. The final question I have, and I'll try to be brief about it, is what is a vital thing that you've learned in doing reviews, and how has it affected your videos? I feel that I've answered similar questions in the past, so I'll try to be brief. So in other words, prepare for 20 minutes of monologue. Pausing for laughter. So I've learned that the pen community overall is very nice. But I've also learned that you have to be very careful in how you do things and how you formulate things. Because people can get offended about many things. And people can get upset about many things. It's very common that I get comments or emails about how wrong I was in a certain review because I said it's not a great pen, but it really is. And I understand that. If you really like a certain product and then someone says, yeah, I didn't care for this, that can be hard. My most recent experience, this review is not up at the time I'm recording this, but by the time this video goes up, maybe that review will be up. I don't have it here, but I got a Mahjong Q1. It's a very short, very wide eyedropper, kind of a more or less copy of a Tombow pen, and people online raved about that pen. Everybody loves it, so I got one, and it was crap. It barely wrote. It had such a tight nib slit that almost no ink came out, and your writing was illegible. Tried different inks, tried cleaning it. No, it was a relatively easy fix. Now it writes beautifully, but I can't do that before I do the review, because I have to review something as it comes out of the box, not the way I've adjusted it. I've learned that the hard way too. Because then people say, but you adjusted that, now it's not fair. And that's actually a pretty good point. Yeah, if I've made adjustments to something, then I don't review the experience you would get when you take that thing out of a box. So I am anticipating that review, when it goes up, I think it's scheduled for January or February, and this is being recorded in November. I try to keep a stock of videos going. I'm expecting that is going to evoke some comments about that pen is actually a great pen, but you're just wrong, or you just got a lemon. Well, I probably did, but that says something about the company, that they're fine with sending something that doesn't function out. And I've certainly had those kinds of conversations in the past. I remember one case where I reviewed a Chinese pen and it simply was not great. The writing experience was poor. And another pen reviewer who contacted me said that I was very wrong because now I had put people off of that pen and it's actually a great pen. And I tried to explain that's not really how the universe works. I'm glad you had a good experience, but I did not. And oddly enough, people can have different experiences in life and can have different opinions. So I appreciate that you had a good experience, and I'm happy about that, but I did not. And as a reviewer, it is my duty to then point out that this was not a great experience. I'm not going to lie and say, well, this is a crap pen, but this person liked it, so it must be good. It's not how it works. So I think, again, because I know I've answered similar questions in the past, I don't want to go on for too long, but that's certainly something I have learned, and I think it can be summed up most conveniently with, you can't please everyone. You just can't. No matter what you do, someone's going to complain, whether it's about the video quality or the audio quality or the thumbnail or the angle of the camera, or my handwriting, or the way I hold the pen, or the way I don't hold the pen, or the way I show the pen, or the way I don't show the pen. They will complain about my face, they will complain about my background, they will complain about my life, they will complain about what I do, they will complain about my name, they will complain about my looks, they will complain about every single thing you can complain about. And that's just how it is. You can't please everyone. And that's the way it is. And that's okay. If you're watching this, I'm assuming that you still enjoy what I'm doing. Awesome. Makes me happy. But that's what I have, though. Yeah. I'm also trying to not be too negative, because this can turn into a sort of complaining thing, which probably has in the past. These kinds of questions and how I answer them depends on what kind of mood you catch me in. If it's been a little tougher and there's been more sort of complaining online, then it's harder to be more positive. But again, you can't make everyone happy, and that's okay. That's how it is. That's everything you do in life will be like that. So that's what I've learned. I'll end now, otherwise this keeps going. If you have any other questions, please leave them below. I really try to get through all the questions. It may take a little while till I get to yours, but I really try to get through them, and I appreciate that. I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate everything you do for me. Remember, without viewers, this channel would not exist. Without interactions, the channel would not exist. Without people leaving comments, the channel would not exist. I'm no longer in a time where I can respond to every comment that comes in. I did once, years ago. I don't have that time anymore, but I do try to read them. And that's it. Thank you for all that. Thank you for your continued support. Some people have been with me for 11 years now, and that's an awfully long time. So thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Thanks. I think what I'm going to do next, remember, we're going back in time. This is probably not going to go up until February 2023. It's record the greatest of all time video for 2022. Let's do that. Should be fun. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see you later.